parent. You've got someone who mentored and loved you. And if just in case maybe you didn't have that, you have the big man upstairs. So everyone somewhere is celebrating on this day. So happy Children's Day to all the beautiful children from all around the world.
And you know what they even say? You can't even feel left out, not being someone's child, because it is said in Africa, in our parlance, that it takes a whole village to raise a child. So
Indeed.
you see, somewhere along the way, even when your parents are not around, you are someone's child. You
Absolutely.
fall in.
Absolutely. And this is why, as we celebrate Children's Day, we also have to acknowledge the amazing people who open their hearts, who open their homes to people who perhaps were not blessed with biological parents who could fill that role for
True.
them. So it's a special day for everyone. It's just like people looking out for everyone else.
That's a word.
All right. So this morning we're talking about, in keeping up with the theme of Children's Day, of course, unlocking children's hidden talents and potentials for the future. A quick background of Children's Day: 1925. The International Children's Day was first proclaimed in Geneva during the World Conference on Child Welfare. Now, this is a day that has been set aside basically to acknowledge the beauty of the child in society and their role as well. Now, here some countries celebrate, Children's Day across different times, some in June. Over the years, it's evolved, but here in Nigeria, it's a very, very significant day, 27th of May. A lot of children, I don't know if this is still happening, but back in the day, a lot of children would go to stadiums, there'll be marches, there'll be singing, there'd be a lot of events basically to mark the significance of Children's Day. And well, here on Smooth 98.1, we're doing it in our own way just to acknowledge the children who indeed will be the future of this great nation.
Stockings drawn to the knee, hand gloves, and all of that. I remember
You marched, Omas. You look like you would have marched.
the only time I go to the stadium growing up
Yes.
was on Children's Day.
Mm.
So it comes. I just remember that vividly.
Beautiful times, beautiful times. Well, this morning we have a special guest. She's a parent coach, and she's going to be talking to us about unlocking children's hidden talents and potentials for the future. Because one child could change this country, one child could change this world, and with the right foundation, the right nurturing, the right drive. It's something that we all hope that we can see. Our special guest this morning is Olabisi Usidame. Welcome, Olabisi. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me today. Happy Children's Day.
Thank you on behalf of the children of the world and of us and I. All right. So I want to ask, when we see adults do the wrong thing or adults behaving badly, there is always a backstory, or people always believe they didn't get the right foundation. The parents must have done something wrong. To what extent does a child's or does a person's childhood influence how they turn out in the future?
Oh, in so many, many ways. Environment has a very important role to play in our behavior, and whatever is happening in our, environment at time usually helps to condition how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive others, how we see life, what the society expects from us. So the environment plays much more vital role than we actually acknowledge. Whether it's the family environment, whether it's academic environment, whatever environment that a child is supposed to thrive in and does not, forms the child, forms the habits that become what we know as an adult. So when, just like you said, when adults behave poorly, it may just be that they didn't learn a way to respond to being overwhelmed emotionally or mentally as a child. That may not have been the parents' fault, could have been the environment, which can be any of the ones I've mentioned. But a child has learned to cope with whatever situation he or she has found herself or himself. And then as they grow up, that coping mechanism that has been formed to respond to the environment and to situations is what the child grows into as he or she becomes an adult. And that's how they handle life, manage responses, manage situations. Yeah.
So this leads us to how early, as a parent or as a guardian, should people begin to keep their eyes on the talents inherent in children to be able to help them discover and nurture it to bloom properly?
What if I say from the belly? Would that be too much? Would that be an over? I can't say I'm going overboard with that. We've heard time and time again that, babies in the womb listen to us, they hear some of what we say. They may not be able to make do with it, but they can sense the emotion in the air, the sound, and all of that. But the truth is that the first 5 years of a child's life is so paramount in their spiritual development, emotional development, social development, mental development, cognitive development. And those first 5 years, parents, as we all know, are not holistic. We are all not perfect. So we can't actually apply all of those 5 areas and impute in our children, which is why I love the adage, it takes a village to raise a child, which means something that mommy or daddy missed because, based on their own personality, someone out there who cares for the future of that child and the future of the society tries to impact the child just to make sure a child comes out holistic. But the first 5 years is when, if you want, you want your child to be a better person, that's when, you should put in all the values that you would want. Unfortunately, those first 5 years are the most troublesome years for parents because they feel like the energy level of the child is too much to handle. And they try to just sort of give a child an iPad or a phone just to keep the child busy, put them in front of the TV, and not realizing that what you have done is to put the voice of the media ahead of yours. So the voice of the media, the voice coming out, the culture norms is what your child absorbs. And later we are wondering why our children don't listen to us as much as we want to because we did not put them first.
So this in itself now speaks to today's culture and what we find ourselves in terms of the rush of modern life, where every mom, dad, everyone is off before the children are up, or probably they drop them off at school. So this brings me to the question of the place of the school. Isn't it at the point where outsourcing this responsibility of helping to discover our children, we're letting the school now help us discover who our children are, their hidden talents?
Thank you for that question. So basically, just like you said, we think the school is doing it. We are thinking, we are hoping the school does it. But we forget that a class has between 15 and 30 children, and the teacher can only do as much. Just even focusing on academic development alone for children who have differing abilities is a lot of struggle. So she may observe one or two things, or she may have one or two concerns about a particular child, but she may not be able to intervene as she should. She may bring it up to the attention of the parent, but if the parent doesn't do anything about it, then it still falls back to the child lacking in those areas. The truth is the school can only do as much. The school is just a place to keep your child to as much as possible, prepare them for societal, to meet societal needs as they grow older. They can only help in a particular area as much as they have all the love in the world to want to give a child. But there are too many children under that guide. And that is why the family life, that's the best unit to help to groom and develop children. But just like you've said, the modern era, parents are not understanding that concept and still think that the school can help to a reasonable extent. The school can only build on the foundation that the family unit has created. Yeah.
All right, we're speaking with Olabisi Usidame. Olabisi is a parents coach, and I'm curious about this. Sometimes some children have gifts or talents that are inherent, right? They are born with it, and then some others can a child be taught to have a particular skill if it's not a skill that they are born with as a gift?
Okay, so that's a very I would say almost a technical question. The truth is, every child has an inherent ability to observe the environment without being directly taught. Some children have that ability, which is they observe a lot and looking at what the society expects of them, they follow through. But you have some children, usually on the neurological spectrum, who, until you literally come to their face and teach them and hold their hands, they are unable to replicate what is expected as the cultural norms. So that is one. Then we have the concept of multiple intelligence theory, where a child can be really good in one area and not good in the other. If a child that is like that is born into a home that is understood, where the child is strong in, the parents will celebrate the child, develop that area, and that paves the way for the child's future. But if the child is born in a home where the parents already feel like they have not met expectations, they have failed, maybe as a child they didn't have the opportunity to be who they want to be. Now that they are good, getting better in terms of maybe financially, they want to make sure that their children don't make the same or lose the opportunities they lost as children. So they want to almost make the children a mini version of themselves. And so if a child that is good in playing soccer or is in very good oratory skills and wants to be a public speaker, and daddy missed the opportunity to be a doctor, he just says that you are failing in science. You need to study. Don't be a failure. No, and negating the fact that the child already has a skill or an ability that could actually have been nurtured. So it really just depends on the environment a child finds themselves for there to be the perception that actually every child has a gift, and it is just for the parent to be able to identify that need and nurture it.
So as a follow-up to that in itself, as parents are helping their children, I pick up these words of Hein Gino, who said, children are like wet cement. Whatever falls on them makes an impression because it's still wet. So this leads me to, at what point do parents need to draw the line? Because it's to know that I am not really discovering my child's talent. I'm rather impressing my talent on this child during those formative years.
So you know how you spoke about the modern era where parents are out before the children wake up. The truth is there isn't enough time for parents to identify their children, know their children, to be aware of what their abilities are, what they like, what they don't like, where they experience insecurity, and be able to meet any of their needs. And so if a parent does not deliberately in this modern era set time out 5 or 10 minutes a day to catch up on their child, the child just becomes a child to them that they love, they idolize, and they don't have time to actually nurture the children. And then weekends are filled with taking the children for swimming, taking them for birthdays, and they just don't have enough time to be with their children, to be able to support them or leave imprints in their life, the impressionable imprints that we're talking about. And then when the child becomes slowly getting to maybe the age of 9, 10, and the child begins to exhibit certain behaviors that may not seem like, where did you learn that from? Who taught you that? And then we're like, oh, we begin to realize that the children have formed their values without us, and it's not aligning with the personal values that we have. We become worried and we're trying to redirect them, trying to force them into who they are not. We're not knowing that at this point, the child hasn't even started living, but is just trying to experiment. And when the child gets to the pre-teenage part or the teenagehood, then the child is trying to find their identity, and they are struggling with a lot of conflict, societal expectations, family expectations, and who I truly I am based on all the conditions that have formed me since I was a little child. So it's a very tricky, ride for parents and also children as well. So the best time really is to find a way from the beginning to develop a relationship with your child, so that even when all of those bombarding, words, culture is causing a conflict in your child, you still have a voice, you still have a say, because your child has learned to listen to your voice and what you have to say.
You're listening to Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. We're speaking about unlocking children's hidden talent and, of course, the potential for the future. Stay with us. The conversation continues. Are we playing the song now? Should we play a song now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one that
Get to the child.
the one.
No.
Go. I think that it's better to cancel that out because I am looking. I know at some point.
I'm saving it for you.
No, I know
Save the best for last.
No, at some point it will come. So I want to cancel it out of my so that we can get along. I just know that's the worst part of the morning for me, but let's just do that quickly. I have to live with that song on this ship. So quickly, let it just end.
All right. Then Fumi is not going to like you. Fumi Adams. Miss Adams.
It's just so many, it just sounds like too many cries. That's it. Like it just makes like the children were just summed up, come and start crying and doing all of those.
I just, singing happily.
Yeah, come on, you hear it yourself. Yeah.
I like that song though. Like, it's like, that should have been our anthem instead of bringing back the old anthem.
I'm beginning to learn that old anthem now because I don't know. I don't want to be caught off guard.
My dear.
I pull it up quickly because you never can tell me that I'm so used to the old one now. Now this one, I have to go back. So
I'm too old to start learning any new anthem, please.
And yesterday I was hoping they would fall for it, but they sang they still retain this other one.
And
yesterday at an event.
Apparently the president actually likes that old one, so it's very likely. Okay, we have to.
No, it is confusing. You don't know where your loyalty lies.
Okay, see, like America now, they have Star Spangled Banner, that's the anthem.
Yeah.
But there's America the Beautiful, that's sort of like the unofficial one. So let this old one be the America the Beautiful that people don't sing all the time, that we just know is somewhere.
That you can dust up in case you
just in case
Dave doesn't play at an event. We now have to come and sing that one. No way.
I'm sorry, but this current anthem is a good anthem. It was written by a Nigerian for Nigerians. It's a promise and a pledge of what you want to do as a citizen.
No, but the way there is a futuristic part of this anthem which talks about the children and the future. It's an old anthem. They want to take us back to. There's this thing about you listen to the national. Okay, this is so they don't say it's sacrilegious or probably being because national pledge is part of the treasure. But I'm just saying that if you listen to the national anthem as it is right now, it talks about the whole lot of struggle. It just tells a story of struggle, and all of those things. Duty. People don't want to. But when you listen to that national anthem, it talks about our brotherhood, how we stand. Nobody should be oppressed.
The old one,
where they want to take us to now. We should be free, and you just could see. So that's where you could begin to point that this anthem says everybody should be free in this union. Nobody should be oppressed. Instantly, you can confront things using that anthem.
I know, man.
But if I call you for this present one is a call, and if you call me, I don't want to obey on call. I have a right now.
This anthem, what we need is patriotism.
Yeah.
And this our current anthem is a call to patriotism.
Can't we need to coexist first before we begin to talk about patriotism. That's where the old anthem comes in, and that's the stage of our life right now where I think we need the old anthem to help us galvanize the need to see ourselves first as brothers in a union. You need to go listen to the national anthem.
It's something plus years later. If we've not seen ourselves as brothers,
it's not too late. Let's go back.
I don't think.
Anyway,
I don't.
Zibby. Oh yeah,
Fumi Adams is playing.
All right.
Man.
So that's just it.
And I have a sentimental attachment to this anthem.
Okay.
I feel like that our other anthem, Nigeria We Hail Thee, it's something for sarcasm. When something happens in Nigeria, you can't explain. People say, Nigeria, we hail thee. And we cannot quite get rid of that sentiment that people have when they say, Nigeria, we hail thee. It's not like, we hail thee. It's like, we hail thee.
So when you say God bless the king, for example, it's not because
God bless the king.
Are you really, you see it? No, how many people in the UK, do you think they really want to bless?
Actually, they seem to actually, I don't know about the king, maybe about the queen. They used to actually, they felt it. There was I don't know about how it's related to the
that
king
you can
now.
Also argue that because
it's
it's a question of you can't read. There's no content in the face for you to tell the mind expression in the words of Shakespeare. So it's just mouthed.
I don't know.
So
I think for me, the thing is that patriotism is song written for Nigeria.
60 plus years, you refuse to be patriotic now. It was brought in 1975 or thereabout, and here you are still struggling. So why don't you go back and become brothers then?
No, I'm team new anthem.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. It's very strange to me. If they said, okay, let's have it as an unofficial anthem where the two can coexist, I would say, okay. Maybe some special occasions, one would play, or others, another one would play. But what you said though is true. This current anthem definitely has some military-ish elements in it. That is
someone, and it's just looking like
it definitely has some of those elements there. But I don't know what we need in this country.
Those tongues and tribes may differ. You begin to
that
see
line is salient, but I
it
think of
does
any other line that holds a
massive
punch like that
oppression. It talks about even where nobody should be oppressed. It's really look. It's so sublime.
So that doesn't mean that we needed some Oyibo person from somewhere to come and write an anthem for us.
Oh, are you against it because it was written by someone now?
In Nigerian.
So you should throw away the Nigerian name too, because for sure did it too.
No.
That was
well, there's debate about that. But when it comes to the anthem, I feel like it was in Nigerian. I like the fact that it was not an oppressor that wrote an anthem for us.
But
this conversation will continue forever.
Let's get back to children. We are due to come back now.
Omatseye, can't you hear it? Feel the song.
This is the part. I know. You will clear it up with the other one. You will play Ghetto Child, so I'm okay.
Oh, Nigeria. Nigeria. Together is the key. Nigeria. That was Fumi Adams with Nigeria, My Beloved Country. And this is one of those songs, that has a heavy input from children. You hear the passion in their voices. A lot of the children in that video are probably in their 50s now, very likely, or maybe even a bit older. But 40s, okay. But it doesn't change. That message doesn't change. It's all about, hope and expectations and dreams for the Nigerian child.
But let's also let them know that behind the scene we had a debate, which background. So you need to get over to YouTube channel, youtube.com, to catch up the debate. Zibby, the president, versus Omatseye, in the question of old national anthem versus the new one, reverting to the old one now. That's what we've been talking about behind the scenes. So you might just go back to youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos to catch a glimpse of it now. But let's move on.
Omatseye and I were on opposing sides. All right, let's get back to the conversation. It's a Children's Day special. We're talking about how parents can actually unlock the hidden talents and potentials for the future with regards to their children. Our special guest is Olabisi Usidame. She is a parent coach, and she certainly knows what it is to deal with children. Thank you so much, Olabisi. If you've got a question, you've got a comment, you just want to be a part of the conversation, let's know your thoughts, right? So you can give us a ring. The telephone number is 0144899981. Don't forget, you need to dial a 02 first. So it's 02 and then 0144899981. You can send a message via WhatsApp 0809 4440981. We're streaming live on YouTube. It's Smooth981 on YouTube. And you can also tweet or X at Smooth981. The conversation is about unlocking children's hidden talents and potential for the future.
So this brings me, Usidame, to the question: how important is it for children to first be children before we tend to begin to want to make them adult? How important is it for them to be children to be able to discover their talents? Because these days you move around, you see children all very too soon becoming adults very early.
It's interesting that the adults who seemingly make more money than the norm are people who probably identified their gifts when they were playing. For example, a child or an adult who sings now learns the skill mistakenly, or maybe when they were playing with their friends. The football star that we know now I learned the skill or realized how good he was when he was playing with his friends. And I could go on and on all of those very interesting examples. But you see, even scientists now have recently found out that children learn more through play. So you have what you just do. You call it educational play. Children in exploring, they find out things about themselves, how they respond to their environment. They learn the primary skills that they need, to be a better person in life, whether to learn to socially resolve conflicts when you have to share a toy, or learning how to build things, and then you say, oh, you're going to be an engineer, or you see someone who likes to take care of their friends using all the play sets, and you're like, you're going to be a doctor, all of those little nice things. It's just important that the child explores. In exploring, they're able to meet those needs that I mentioned earlier, problem solving skills, cognitive development, being socially adequate, as it were, learning to manage your emotions, no matter how sad you are or happy you are, when you have to work with people. So team collaboration as an adult is learned when a child is playing with their friends, or their inability to play with their friends. Yeah. Okay. But when a child is thrown into an adult life, which happens much more than we realize, from children who grew up in homes where there was neglect, abandonment, there was trauma, or there was abuse. And so they had to learn to be adults. They had to learn to suck up. They had to learn to, just, leave childish things and move on. But as they grow older, we begin to realize that there's something that they don't know how to have fun. They don't know how to play. They don't know how to just be amiable in relationships. They don't know how to handle, because it just didn't come naturally. So childhood play, as we know it, actually helps us to discover hidden, invaluable gifts about ourselves, and also it helps us to be better adults that are more emotionally and mentally balanced. Sometimes you see firstborn become resentful because when they were growing up, there was the role of duty and responsibility, so much more that their younger ones would have to be playing and all that, and they had to just make sure everybody was fine. And growing up, making sure everybody is fine gets to a point where they forget about themselves. Sometimes they don't even know who they truly are. They're very unaware of themselves, and then they become resentful that they lost their childhood, they lost their ability, to be who they are. So it's very interesting.
All right, let's go on to the phone lines. Good morning. President Zibby will work. Good morning, Dr. M. All right, go ahead, Dr. M.
For real, I'm not having any kid anymore. Maybe the last one is about 14 or 15, and there are some that are even in school. But truth is, let me just latch on what the conversation is saying there. You let them be kids. Don't impose adulthood on them right from the word go. Michael Jackson remains a classic example of a kid that never left the body of the man. He was just not allowed to be a child. He was making money as early as 5, from 2 Jackson 5. He became very rich at a very early stage. Only for him to start being like a child later in life, in the 40s, even though the 50s, so it's natural that we let them be. Sometimes when some of my kids are going, like I said, I have only one teenager. Allow them to just let them store their stuff. It's natural that they're impressionable. It's natural that you buy it for them today and they get it destroyed tomorrow out of curiosity. Don't see all these things as doing something bad. And also the point raised out that some cultures are guilty of this, especially putting too much on the first child. If they're trying to be a first child, they're the first son. They are seen like the family parents and the pseudo parents. And rightfully they become resentful because it's a God himself that gave us our life. He's so systematic that if there are positions you left or something you didn't do, one student, you are likely going to speak to them later. Why do some people are in their 50s or 60s? I'm talking about men now, will still be in quote sugar daddies. They would have loved to be sugar daddies in quote now when they were in their 20s or 30s, but they didn't have enough resources then. But when they now made it maybe later in life, what they couldn't do then, those vices in quote now, they will still go back and you wonder, what this man is too old for this nonsense. So it's just natural that for every state as parents now, we should we have to guide them. The word of God is so clear. Bring the child the way to go. But when it grows, it will not depart from it. Let them be at their level. Or sometimes, of course, you have to correct them. No excessive. Sometimes you start, you are not watching this, you are not playing with that. But most times, see how they develop. Guide them, nurture them. So that when they become men, women, they won't go away from those right trainings between them. I wish all the kids out there, the Children's Day, even my kids, some in university, some everywhere, I wish them Children's Day. And I wish it too. I think somebody born you too.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. M, for calling and sharing your thoughts. You're listening to Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. Do stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side. Don't just stand. Oh, listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no place low, ain't no rivers wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me. No matter where you are, no matter how far, don't worry, baby, just call my name. I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry, 'cause baby, there ain't no mountains high enough.
Okay, that's right.
I believe the children are future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
You're on to Lagos Talks 981 on Smooth 98.1 FM. Our guest is still here. Olabisi Usidame is still helping us understand how to help us unlock the potentials, the talent, if you like, of the children. It's all on the heels of today being the Children's Day being celebrated, all Nigerian children being celebrated today all over. So let's get back into the conversation and see what's the place of picking role models in helping children unlock their talents in this regard? You have to unmute. You're muted.
Apologies. The role that role models have in our lives, whether as adults or as children, is huge. Simply because there are people we look up to, and we find ourselves unconsciously or subconsciously trying to mirror some of what we see in their lives and just wanting to be, we are inspired to want to be a better version of ourselves. And parents have, a greater role in that regard, not leaving the children to go on social media to find a role model. But when you're able to identify the needs of your child, gradually over time, you begin to subtly introduce your children to some role models, whether physically, if you can afford it, or, on social media, or on, learning about them, or biography, just so that the children are aware that, you know what, I know you have this talent. This person has this talent, and this person learns it as a child. And these are the decisions this person made to get to where they are, which means you also have that potential to get there. I believe in you. I trust, because you see, whether we gave birth to our children or not, will always turn out different from us. They may not have the same gifts that we have. And when we understand as parents that we cannot be their entirety, their alpha and their omega, and give other people the opportunity to impact them, and let them know that, we trust them enough to follow the right people, it goes a long way in helping our children develop the right skills. So yeah,
all right,
that's the
thank you
role
for
of,
that. And
yeah.
this brings me to something I saw Oprah Winfrey on her show many years ago talk about. Was a mother who said she wanted to be her daughter's best friend. Her daughter was a young woman in her 20s, I believe. And, she was very involved in her daughter's life. And at some point, the daughter needed some space. And she said to Oprah, I want to be her best friend. I have to be her best friend. And Oprah said, you're not her best friend. You're her parent. So I'm curious about this. Should a parent be their child's best friend from a young age, or should a parent be a parent? Where do you draw that line where, as a parent, you can be firm, but still get the information you need from a child, but they don't think they're your friend, where they talk and act with you like they would their friends?
So that boils down to the parenting style. The truth is, you can be your child's friend. The question is, what do you understand a friend to be as a parent? Are you a friend who, just because you want to be your child's friend, you're indulging all the very poor habits that they are beginning to develop, and you just want to say, okay, I'm my child's friend. I need to be understanding. I need to be a cool mom so that my child will feel okay. Or I want to be a friend that listens to my child no matter what they are going through, and I don't judge them. But when I'm able to drop a wise word, a wise counsel, I will do that. Or I want to be a parent that I am your parent. You do as I say to you. You don't have a say. I know better for you. And we have those kind of friends as well. But as a parent, the question is, do you want your child to do everything that you ask them to do? Or do you want your child to find their way in life? And when they make mistakes and when they fall, they can easily come back to you, knowing you are there. Or do you want to be the parent that you let your child have anything they want, and then they become, I, would I say they don't know how to regulate. They don't know how to deal with excesses because you've given them everything, and then it comes and then it boomerangs, and then it becomes a terrible there's a terrible repercussion at the end of the day. So I don't know about a best friend, but I think a parent can be a friend depending on how the parent identifies what the word friendship is to their child, but still have the say, and that's being an authoritative parent. Like, you know what, these are our expectations as your parent, these are the things that we want, but let me hear you out. What do you have to say? And that child builds confidence, being able to say, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm struggling with. And then you say, well, I understand all of these things. I've been there too. However, don't forget that there's still always that goal at the end of the day. We have expectations, you have expectations, we understand this, we're sacrificing, you two need to make some sacrifices. There is mutual understanding, just like a healthy friendship should have, mutual respect, hearing each other, out. So that's just, it depends on the parents, because you don't want a child that you end up being the one to destroy the child's life. So when you're able to identify from the beginning that I want to be my child's friend, but first of all, I want to parent you, I want to support you, I want to be there for you, I want you to understand the sacrifices I'm making for you, and I also want you to play your role as a child. And then, when life's, situation comes along, we solve it and we navigate through it together. That's fine, but not wanting to say, anything you want, I'm the cool parent. No, it ends up disastrous.
We have a lot of cool parents these days.
Oh, so many. So many. It's terrible. It's honestly, my heart weeps, because for us that are in the field of psychology, we can already see the impact and what will happen later in future. But parents, out of the love and wanting their child to feel fit in the society, take some decisions that will later on be of bad effect. But that's what it is.
So out there among some parents listening this morning are those who still believe more like the old school, that a child remains a child. What do they really know? So it is their place to help to decide the career path for the child, because after all, they don't know what it is. So that's why a child is too young to decide, I want to be a lawyer. And why do we see a situation where some professions are being neglected? If we do a survey today to go out there and put between being a lawyer, let's say a doctor or a lawyer, and then a teacher, there's a tendency that if we sample 100 children, we might not get 20 of those children saying that they want to be teachers. They would rather be doctors, engineers, and lawyers. How did we get here as a society?
It's perception of the value. Strangely, footballers are paid in billions just for people watching them perform something they're good at on the field. And teachers sweat day in, day out, year in, year out for 30 to 50 children on a daily basis, concerned about them, providing pastoral care, being mommy, being auntie, being nanny, being teacher. But because you see the value that we place on teachers, and I mean parents too, because parents, when they feel like there's something wrong with their child at home, the first point of contact and fights is the teacher. What were you looking at that my child started to do this and started developing these habits? And also for the society as well, the government doesn't pay teachers as much. So obviously, perception is very important. Social perception, has a lot to do with how teachers are perceived, because we don't see them as people that, they don't get much. They don't get paid much. Then they don't look so great after all. They don't look as good as my mom looks, who is a doctor. So all of those, factors have a role to play in how teachers are perceived. But if we're talking about the amount of sacrifice they make, doctors make, those main community helpers make, you know, eh, they need to be paid more basically. So it has more to do with the value, the perception of people, that value that the society places on them. They're just seen as an extension of nanny, extension of, they're not giving that, so when you say you're a teacher, everybody looks at you like, okay. Like they just immediately just have a downgraded perception of you. You have to be the one to constantly fight to be noticed, to be appreciated, to be celebrated. Otherwise, the society just puts us at the lowest part of, society. So it's quite sad. And that is why sometimes teachers also don't want to put their best in children. Sometimes because they're like, I came here to teach. Let me teach and go. I don't get paid enough to worry about other people's children. So until, we understand that children are stuck with, teachers more than they are stuck with us each day, and give them that value that they deserve, our children may actually not get the value that they deserve. Yeah. I hope that helps.
It certainly does. Let's look at a message. Okay. All right. Michael is asking for the link. That's fine, Michael. You can find it on our YouTube channel. It's Smooth981, but I'll send it to you on WhatsApp as well. Just search for Smooth981. You find the channel, you can subscribe, and you can see the session, but we'll post that shortly.
And that in itself comes more like a response to her asking if I hope that helps. So this apparently seems like this whole conversation is helping in some way if Michael needs to get the link to push across to someone. So
absolutely. Yeah. I also want to ask this.
Thank you.
I remember one of my tutors at university said children were the most creative beings on the planet, but as they start to get older, they're inhibited by the people around them. So he said, if you give a child a piece of paper, that child is holding that paper, and in his mind, that paper is a skyscraper, it's a plane, it could be anything in his mind. So he says, but as children start to get older, the adults around them say, nope, that is not a plane, it's a sheet of paper. So they start to see it as a sheet of paper, which has limited them in some way because we're trying to guide them. So I'm curious, how can parents have children be realistic, but still not inhibit their dreams or their visions, and bring it to reality?
Parents. Yeah. So what if I told you that at my age with 2 children, and I've been married for over a decade, my mom will still come and greet me in my house and say, this job that you're doing, you can do this one. I'm telling you, which means that parents never really change. My mommy will still tell me in Yoruba that, Omode lon share, which means you're still a child, you don't know anything. I don't know. Even my older siblings, she still says that to them. And what am I trying to say? The truth is, our parents may never, ever change. But one thing that we must have as children, whether now adults or little children, is the ability to be assertive and be decisive, which means that no matter what is thrown at us, and that is where if you're a parent, you're teaching your child, do as I say all the time. They become so obedient that they fit into the society, but they don't have a mind of their own. Whatever the society says they should do, they will do. But when you allow a child to explore and find themselves, so no matter what, people throw at them, they still have that dream intact in them. They have become confident, assertive, and they've guarded their dreams. So even if they keep telling them it's paper, they see it as a skyscraper. All of the people that we know, Ronaldo, we hear some of their story where we know that they weren't encouraged as children. They probably didn't even have soccer boots to even play football, but that didn't stop them. They had people discourage them, that didn't stop them. That's because the child develops that ability to be assertive, the ability to remain confident and focused no matter what life throws. That's a child that can grow in a very resilient place. So the people that we know now that are successful, so to speak, are people who just stuck to their guns and didn't allow society or parental influence to distort what they believe. Thank you.
In summary, we've also seen cases of children who were able to discover their talents by being rebellious. So is it a case of if society doesn't want to, or parents don't want to allow you, get your own way in trying to find your way and your talent? It seemed like, well, we have to do it a difficult way. Mom, dad, sorry.
Different factors cause rebellion. The one of it is the one you've mentioned now. And another also is a child that has identified that rebellion gets me attention, albeit negative. The attention I never get, I get it by being rebellious. And another person who has gotten used to having their way all the time don't understand that they cannot always have their way based on maybe an indulgent parent. So, rebellion, it can be caused by different factors, and as parents, we should be able to figure out how am I making my child rebellious? Because there's also good rebellion. The activists that we know today, they were rebellious, but for a good cause. So, it can be a guided rebellion, which will have a positive impact, and it may not be. So it's not really a bad thing, but it's the way it's been redirected or directed. Thank you.
All right, I think we can take one last phone call. Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Phantom, almost non-realistic. If I were to choose between being a parent totally or a friend, of course I'll be a parent. At first, I'm not my children's friend. I'll let them know I'll be assertive. I will let them know, oh, daddy doesn't like this. So
yes, Dr. M, please go ahead. We can hear you now.
You can always still bring them to yourself. Not even when you correct them. Anywhere we're going, some things were rather too harsh. We don't want to go that far, but we don't want to be too soft too. Because nowadays I've discovered that we listen to our parents then. Unfortunately, we are listening to our kids now. So we are just like the bastard generation. Our parents did all manner of things, fine. We grew up well. But today, because we want to be too soft, we want to be too friendly, we now listen to our students, and the consequences are dire. They are terrible. These kids have become too soft that they cannot just do anything by themselves. They are almost irresponsible. So if there is going to be a middle ground, please write a book on that, on parenting, how to be a parent, assertive, and yet be a friend. Zibby, over to you. I give you that assignment.
All right. Thank you for that, Dr. M. I'm sure I'll be able to do that with Olabisi's guidance. She's the parents coach, right?
Absolutely. I would love to help you. So it can be a bestseller series.
Amen to that. So finally, I want to talk about cultural factors. Like you gave an instance of your mom still saying, oh, you don't know anything, you're a child. In African culture, a lot of the ideal is children are seen, they're not heard. Now, when you're that child that grew up in a household where you were actually heard, you come out with that confidence, and then people see it as arrogance sometimes. So this is something I have struggled with, especially when I was younger, because I was very outspoken. So how are children now away from their families? Because the families, obviously, they understand this is this child's personality. This is how maybe we've trained our children or raised them to be. So how does a child away from that family unit out there still maintain their confidence, their assertiveness, and not get repercussions, especially when they go to school or they have to meet with other people?
I empathize with you and what you went through as a child because, a few of us went through it as well. I went through it and I still go through it as well because I'm a very outspoken person. But I also realize that, people will not always accept us or accept our perspective. Not because they were not thinking in that line, but how dare you confidently just open your mouth and just spew it out? And that is, the perception of the society. It may not change, it may change over time, but the question we should always ask ourselves, whether as children or as adults, is um God gave me this personality, and what do I want to do with it? You know, am I happy with it? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Appreciating who you are, and because that may be the only affirmation you may ever get, appreciating yourself. But the question you should always ask yourself is, am I impacting those around me positively? And if it's a yes, please, at the end of the day, you don't care whose ox is God. But there's also the place where you have to be moderate in how you share your opinion. So that's one of the things that outspoken people need to learn is, being able to, it's not just about saying it, but I want people to hear me and I want them to follow through. How can I say it so they can hear me? And I think that's one of the things we need to work on, and say, what, for this message to be passed across and for it to be impactful, how else can I say this? Who else do I need to talk to make my, my impact felt? So that helps us to sort of modify how we speak, people that are outspoken, and how we move. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is all the time that we have for Lagos Talks this morning. It feels like the time went by really, really quickly. But thank you so much, Olabisi Usidame, for being our guest on the show this morning. And happy Children's Day to you. I'm sure your mom has called you to say happy Children's Day already.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity as well.
Thank you for listening.